guys, welcome back to Sarah Katie Reads. Today I'm going to do a quick review and talk about what I read and finished reading last week. I was able to read 3 books. I felt that was pretty good considering it was pretty busy over the weekend and everything. Maybe you notice in the background I have some new pretty bookcases. I was really excited about them. I put those together myself. And I only messed up a few times. There may be just a little bit of duct tape involved in one spot where I hammered through with the wrong angle, but that's okay. They're up, they look pretty, and they hold all of my little collectible pop figures and action figures and cool Star Trek stuff. So I am very excited to have those up in my bedroom so I can have all of my pretty books close by. Although that's not even all of my books. I have another giant bookcase out in the loft family room and then another smaller bookcase over on the opposite side of the room holding more stuff. So I have a lot of books. But anyway, back to what I read last week. So first off, I finished reading Dark Woods by Marta Stahlfeld, the young local author whose book I picked up at the farmer's market a couple of years ago. So this book, it follows a large cast of characters, though the main protagonist comes to be Princess Zoraisel, who, though not the firstborn of her siblings, becomes kind of the chosen one leader of her people. The main idea is very good versus evil, with the basically good woodland creatures against the basically evil serpent worshipping foxes. The religious allegory, it's very strong throughout this book, with the Bear King coming to be the important religious figure who saves some of the evil foxes, and who by the end of the book is basically speaking to Zoraisel, kind of telling her that she is the chosen leader of the woodland creatures, telling her about her destiny. I get what the author was trying to do here. It was very kind of Redwall and Chronicles of Narnia and Watership Down kind of all in here, but I felt that it was messy. There were a lot of different plots happening, a lot of different characters I was trying to keep straight, and I had a hard time doing that. In fact, in the beginning of the book, there is about 2.5 pages list of cast of characters, which it was helpful to have that list, but I still had a hard time keeping everybody straight. And throughout the book, I had a hard time telling where and what the actual true climax of events was, because there seemed to be this sense of urgency throughout the whole book about everything that happened. There were also some kind of awkward romances developing between the characters that I felt were a little bit underdeveloped. I wasn't sure why they were there. So I kind of wish they were either not there or better developed. And I did feel like I needed to edit as I was reading through this book, which always pulls me out of the story and can be distracting. So, but you know, she was 12 when she started writing this, so that's pretty impressive. And I believe she self-published or published this by the time she was 17. So, you know, a young author, and I think this was her first go at writing an extended novel, and that's pretty impressive. And I mean, what was I doing at that age? Not writing a novel. I think I was watching The Matrix 27 times in one summer, and also seeing Fellowship of the Ring weekly with my best friend. So, you know, good for her. She wrote her book, she published it. That's pretty impressive. However, I did give it 2 stars. It was a book that, had I not been reading it to fill out one of the squares on my summer book bingo, I most likely would have set it down and not finished it. So, Dark Woods by Marta Stahlfeld, 2 stars. Next up, I read J.R.R. Tolkien's translation of Beowulf with his commentary. The epic poem of Beowulf, if you're not familiar with it, it's an Old English Anglo-Saxon oral poem that was written down by a Christian monk sometime between the 8th and beginning of the 11th century. We don't know who actually wrote it down. He's typically just referred to as the Beowulf author. Story, the epic poem, it's set in Scandinavia, and it follows our hero Beowulf, who travels to Denmark to aid King Hrothgar, who is just beset by the monster Grendel, and who is just wreaking havoc on his mead hall Harrot, and just destroying his people, his home, his livelihood, and it's not good. So Beowulf travels to Harrot to aid King Hrothgar, and he slays Grendel, and subsequently, when Grendel's mother comes to take revenge, slays Grendel's mother. He then returns home to Geatland, where he eventually becomes a king, and then 50 years later, he has another adventure where he goes and he slays a dragon, but in doing so, he is mortally wounded and he dies after this. He's then cremated, and a tower is erected in his honor, built in his honor by his followers. So initially, when I started reading this particular translation by Tolkien, I started back towards the beginning of the year, and I had kind of a hard time getting through it at first. So I set it down, and I came back to it last week. I picked it back up, and it went much more quickly for me. Tolkien uses a fairly dense, formal prose language in his translation for this, and it's very layered. There is a lot going on. Like in this oral tradition, there seems to be a convention where you tell stories within the story. So the characters will often be relating other events and stories that happened before the time of the epic poem that you are currently reading. So there is a lot going on. And the translation that I have the most experience with, because I really love the Beowulf poem, but the one I have read the most and studied the most is the Seamus Heaney translation, which is a much more contemporary, modern day language take on the Beowulf epic, and it really lends itself well to being read aloud. It's beautiful. I love it. I totally recommend it. Once I finished the poem, the book started right into Tolkien's commentary. His commentary was taken from a series of lectures that he did while he was at Oxford, and I haven't yet done a very, very close reading of the commentary. Just life is a little bit busy, and I hope to go back to it soon and do a much more thorough reading of it. But I really enjoyed it. His history, his scholarship on the time period, the language of the Anglo-Saxons, and how he translated it are so fascinating. He is so knowledgeable. I mean, this is what he did for so much of his life. I mean, aside from Lord of the Rings, he was a medieval Old English scholar, and so his work, his academic work, just really shines through in this, and I found it fascinating. So interestingly, he seems to have made this translation with no sort of thought that it would ever really be available to the general public. It seems to have been much more for his personal use and studies and teaching. So they talk about that a lot in the introduction to the commentary. But for this book, overall, I really, really enjoyed it, and his scholarship, it really is amazing. So I gave Tolkien's translation of Beowulf 4 out of 5 stars. So if you enjoy this sort of history and linguistic translation tradition, I would recommend picking this up. It was really great. And look, that cover is so pretty, and that is Tolkien's own illustration. He did lots of really cool illustrations. So there you go. 4 out of 5 stars. So lastly, I finished reading this giant, lovely book, Star Trek, The Official Guide to Our Universe, The True Science Behind the Starship Voyages by Andrew Fazekas. And I have to say, my husband really knows the way to my heart. Books and Star Trek and combined is just great. It's so pretty. I love it. So this book, it was really awesome. It was a really wonderful and beautiful tour through our universe. And the author, he takes us kind of through our own known universe, and things are then compared to how they are presented in Star Trek. So you get the fiction, the sci-fi of Star Trek and what's happening in the Star Trek universe contrasted with what is actually going on and what we know about our world, the planets, our solar system, our galaxies, what we know now, the current science, and where we are in exploration. So he does this for our own solar system, and then we look at newly discovered worlds and planets. We look at other spatial phenomena, and then distant galaxies and star clusters. And throughout, he includes these maps and these step-by-step instructions on how to find these different things in the night sky from our own backyard. So that was really exciting. If you're interested in maybe being a backyard astronomer, this might be a fun book to pick up. It's got lots of really great tidbits in it. And then in the back of the book, he also includes sky charts and how to navigate the night sky and how to really, really find things. And again, it's very up to date, the latest stuff through 2015. I know he references like the New Horizons mission to Pluto and some other similar things. So this is super up to date. Also, the foreword is by William Shatner, which was a lot of fun. I was sitting there reading it, and I couldn't help but hear it in William Shatner's particular voice and cadence. So I was kind of laughing about that. But just some beautiful page spreads. There's the Curiosity rovers on Mars taking a selfie. These gorgeous full color pages. A section on dark and reflection nebulae in our universe. There's the pillars of creation there. Absolutely gorgeous. And then for an example of how to find something from your backyard in the night sky, here he is giving you step-by-step instructions. And here's the constellation maps, exactly how to get to it so that you can find a supernova remnant in the night sky. Pretty cool. So I really, really enjoyed this book. And if you, like me, have fun with these sorts of things, you might enjoy either checking this out or picking it up. So I gave Star Trek, The Official Guide to Our Universe, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a lot of fun. And I will be going back and reading through this again. There was so much information that I know I didn't absorb nearly as much as I wanted to. So I'll go back and kind of pick and choose what I read again. And hopefully when I get a telescope for our backyard, I'm excited about that. It's going to happen soon. I'll be able to use this to kind of help me find some of those fun things. So, Star Trek, The Official Guide to Our Universe, 4 out of 5 stars. So that's it. That's what I read last week. If you have any comments or questions or things you think I should know about any of those books or what you're reading, let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, please feel free to click on the thumbs up you liked it button or subscribe if you want to see more content. And thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. So have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye.